Good afternoon, everybody. Today I want to start by addressing three issues, and then I'll take your questions. First, I'd like to say a few words about the situation in Iran. The United States and the international community have been appalled and outraged by the threats, the beatings, and imprisonments of the last few days. I strongly condemn these unjust actions, and I join with the American people in mourning each and every innocent life that is lost. I've made it clear that the United States respects the sovereignty of the Islamic Republic of Iran and is not interfering with Iran's affairs. But we must also bear witness to the courage and the dignity of the Iranian people and to a remarkable opening within Iranian society. And we deplore the violence against innocent civilians anywhere that it takes place. The Iranian people are trying to have a debate about their future. Some in Iran, some in the Iranian government in particular, are trying to avoid that debate by accusing the United States and others in the West of instigating protests over the election. These accusations are patently false. They're an obvious attempt to distract people from what is truly taking place within Iran's borders. This tired strategy of using old tensions to scapegoat other countries won't work anymore in Iran. This is not about the United States or the West. This is about the people of Iran and the future that they, and only they, will choose. The Iranian people can speak for themselves. That's precisely what's happened in the last few days. In 2009, no iron fist is strong enough to shut off the world from bearing witness to peaceful protests of justice. Despite the Iranian government's efforts to expel journalists and isolate itself, powerful images and poignant words have made their way to us through cell phones and computers, and so we've watched what the Iranian people are doing. This is what we've witnessed. We've seen the timeless dignity of tens of thousands of Iranians marching in silence. We've seen people of all ages risk everything to insist that their votes are counted and that their voices are heard. Above all, we've seen courageous women stand up to the brutality and threats, and we've experienced the searing image of a woman bleeding to death on the streets. While this loss is raw and extraordinarily painful, we also know this: those who stand up for justice are always on the right side of history. As I said in Cairo, suppressing ideas never succeeds in making them go away. The Iranian people have a universal right to assembly and free speech. If the Iranian government seeks the respect of the international community, it must respect those rights and heed the will of its own people. It must govern through consent and not coercion. That's what Iran's own people are calling for, and the Iranian people will ultimately judge the actions of their own government. Efforts to expel journalists and isolate itself, powerful images and poignant words have made their way to us through cell phones and computers, and so we've watched what the Iranian people are doing.
Shut it off. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, guys.
Tell me what a police state looks like. What a police state looks like. Hey, come from over and explain protesters in the face.
Hi, my name is Vlad Teichberg. I am one of the members of Glass Beat Collective. Yesterday, or actually this morning, at 2 o'clock in the morning, we were stopped by police officers right outside the place where we were staying, and we were searched without cause. We were detained for more than an hour, or at least it felt like more than an hour, and then subsequently our possessions were confiscated, and we never received a receipt for our stuff. We're journalists. At least on this project, we're journalists. In general, we're artists, but for this particular project, we're coming to document what's happening at the Republican National Convention, and the police have taken away all of our equipment and is trying to create a situation where we cannot do our job.
This morning at about 2 a.m. they got off bus 17B at 27th and Washington Street in northeast Minneapolis. They ended up walking about a block and a half towards the house they were staying when they were stopped by 2 squad cars of the Minneapolis police and subsequently by a sheriff's deputy car. They were interrogated, they were questioned about their travel plans, about their associations, why they were here. Initially, they were told that they were under investigation because there had been car burglaries in the neighborhood. They were asked if they would consent to a search of their property, and all of them said they would not do so. The Minneapolis police proceeded to go through all of their property, search their persons, go through their backpacks, go through their video cameras, and ended up seizing cell phones, 2 video cameras, 2 still cameras, a computer, a separate hard drive, as well as clothing, personal objects, and money. Today I spoke to Lieutenant Wisney with the 2nd Precinct of Minneapolis Police Department, as well as a member of the Minneapolis City Attorney's Office. The story being given by the police department is that these 3 are under investigation for criminal trespass upon the railroad yard in the area. That was not any of the statements that were made by the police last night or early this morning. All of this should be well documented on 2 police squad car videos.
And he represents the interests of the ruling class.
And say, you know what, I think it's great, Barack Obama, but you're not my president.
You know, they're disappointed with the idea of voting for the lesser of 2 evils. You ask them why he voted for the FISA bill, why he funded the war, why he reinstated the Patriot Act, why he gave retroactive immunity to these corporations that illegally spied on the U.S. I respect that people want some hope, and that's what the conversation always ends up with. I just really hope he kind of pares down what seems blatantly fascist under the Bush regime.
This is your America! Come on! Get the what are you doing? Get back out of the way! Get out of the way! Protecting!
The cops have surrounded the crowd right now, so they can't escape. They're provoking the crowd.
I'm protesting. I'm just standing on the sidewalk handing out leaflets.
Yeah, and you got trapped between these 2 police walls?
Exactly.
That's what happened to me. I came down just to see what was going on. Now we're trapped.
You guys gotta let some people out or escape or something. You're just gonna arrest all? You're gonna arrest all 2,000 people?
We were hit in the chest with billy clubs and told to get back in and shut the...
Today in Boston, it is a disgrace to the First Amendment that protests in some place in this town must take place within a steel cage surrounded by barbed wire. That is anti-democratic. It is un-American. There is a reason why first among all rights in the First Amendment is the right to free speech, the freedom of assembly. These are essential to maintaining a democracy. So on the road from Guantanamo to Abu Ghraib, we insist that we are not going to relinquish anymore any of our rights to free speech, any of our rights to assemble. We must challenge each and every effort to try to keep people away from their government and try to keep people from expressing what's happening with this government.
I don't believe that the people who are elected in Washington have the will to return the people, this country's resources to the people. I believe, as Dr. King said in 1968, it's time for us to go to Washington, D.C. and to not leave Washington, D.C. until the elected leaders understand that this is our country, not the country of the corporations.
We also know this: those who stand up for justice are always on the right side of history. As I said in Cairo, suppressing ideas never succeeds in making them go away. The Iranian people have a universal right to assembly and free speech. If the Iranian government seeks the respect of the international community, it must respect those rights and heed the will of its own people. It must govern through consent and not coercion. That's what Iran's own people are calling for, and the Iranian people will ultimately judge the actions of their own government.